Hey everyone, this is Tom. This is a quickie cheat sheet video for those of you guys who want to counter the current meta. You know, what people are playing, why you should be playing, or why you should be playing around it. And you know what? Let's bring the chalkboard down and let's go. So we got hand traps, we got spell disruptions, we've got board breakers, and we're going to pair them with the reasons of why they're being played right now. And so, don't forget to hit that like button, hit subscribe, ding that notification bell, because I'm also going to be pairing them with the reasons of why they're being played. Alright, let's take a look at the more details with the hand trap disruptions, and the current hand trap count popularity is between 0 and 9. You don't have to play any if you have all the correct board breakers that can go first or second, and then you can decide into them if you need to. But if you're brave like Pack, you can play 0. Yeah, he plays 0 in his Unchained deck, and it makes a lot of sense for him. And if you understand how to play those lines, then definitely do it. It's such a strong deck. It's like tier 1 for sure. And in terms of the different kinds of hand traps we are looking at, we have Imperm, Ash, and we have basically Nibiru or Joel, the blowout card at the end. And you also have Ghost Mortar and Veiler under that same column of Imperm. But Imperm is definitely the best one. If you have to choose to play 2, it's Imperm and Ash. It just gives you the best coverage. And if you want to throw an additional card in there, you should probably play Nibiru. There's just so many combo decks right now. Everyone's just spamming boards. But let's take a look at the hit targets. I did say I'm going to pair them up with stuff. Kashtira Unicorn, you can hit them with the effect Veiler. Ideally Veiler for this one, and then if you have Imperm, maybe you can save it for the Arise Heart if they do have a true follow-up. But you're trying to minimize the board that they're able to play. You don't want them to get birthed into hand 90% of the time anyway. And so that's why it's very, very crucial. These hand traps will only get better if birth gets limited to 1, but you know, that's not the case yet. Then we have Imperm, save it for the Arise Heart. And if you have Ghost Mourner, if they go for Shangri-Era plus the Arise Heart, then you can just hit the monsters being summoned out from Arise Heart, not Arise Heart, Shangri-Era, so you can maybe block off a Fenrir along the way, and it's very, very useful. As for the Chimera matchup, Big Wing Berthelman and Chimera, King of Phantom Beast, this one's iffy because if they follow it with Chimera Fusion, they're going to get their effect anyway because you target, and your target's going to be missing once they chain Chimera Fusion. But you know, you have to, you know, pick your battles. Is it worth it to just stop them from getting the effect, or is it worth it to stop them from ripping a hand? So, you know, whether they plus or they rip a card from your hand, you have to make your choice there. Usually Ash is a better option when it comes to that. It's just like another fusion matchup. Pearly, Perlily, those are really the only things you can hit unless they have Starry. Like, once you get Starry Street out, you can't hit their extra deck monsters, so this is what you're kind of stuck with. And preventing them from going into the extra deck monster is quite important as well. For Rescue Ace, you have Hydrogen and Turbulence. Ideally, you want to hit Turbulence, but if you have nothing else better to hit, then you can hit Hydrogen, you can hit Air Hoister, and if you have a follow for Turbulence, you just don't want that set 4 to land. And for the other matchups, Rock of the Vanquisher during standby phase, anything phase but main phase is the best time to hit the Rock of the Vanquisher because it's a main phase only effect. Timing matters a lot here. Hugin, Runic Wings, don't let him get the Fountain. Unchained Soul, Lord Yama. This is really the only thing you can hit because it's the only card that really, as a monster, that adds cards from the deck to the hand while it's on the field. So that's really the only point. Everything else activates in the graveyard, and this is just all trigger. Gigantic Sprite, hit that. There's just everything for every matchup. There's like one particular card that does work. Even against like Labyrinth, you can use it to hit Ariana or Ariane. Boom. Then they don't get their search, in which does simplify the game a little bit, just makes it less tedious. Ash Blossom, Branded Fusion, Big Wing Berthelman. Big Wing Berthelman, you hit that card, you prevent them from, well, getting 2 cards, getting the Fusion and the Gazelle. I think it's one of the key ones. Unless you already know that you can hit them with the Mirror Sword Knight, that's fine too. My friend Pearly prevent them from adding 3 for the turn. Yes, they're going to probably do it again next turn, but it gives you the opportunity to kind of blow them out and get rid of those cards before it gets out of hand, which is why people are playing stuff like Harpy's Feather Duster in their main deck to take care of these problems. It is not something you want to answer to. It's just very difficult if you have to answer to My Friend Pearly plus Starry Street because they're just plussing so hard. The recovery is just too much. Pot of Prosperity for 6. Raid Soth makes sense. We also have Emergency for Rescue Ace. Just don't let them get cards. Or Air Hoister. Big Welcome and Welcome Labyrinth. Both of them can hit. Vanquish Soul can prevent Rise from getting the additional card. But not just that. You can also use it to stop Dempsey from battling Boxer. That's one of the new things that they played to get Rise into the hand. Rudic Fountain, and lots of rogue matches. I mean, this thing has some of the best coverage, honestly. And as for Droll and Nibiru, I mean, Kashtira, Dragon Link, these are all really great. But remember, like Cashier, they can just shifter you, and then Droll's not very good. And even Droll against Chimera, it seems like very good on paper if they start with Kotal, and any line but the Mirror Sword Knight is good. Everything else is kind of mediocre. But you can also start Rika, Math, Mag, Dark World, Exorcist, or Vanquish Soul. Like, it's still very good, okay? Except that you can't really Nibiru a Vanquish Soul deck unless they start with Dempsey, okay? That's how it is right now for hand traps. So that was the longest part. That's the hand traps. So let's look into text and control. We have Book of Moon, Book of Eclipse, triple attack. We want everything that more or less does not destroy anything. Unfortunately, Feather Duster is still really good against back row, so we still have to play that. But if you destroy cards, you might trigger a lot of unchained stuff, which is why that's really not the best option unless you have turned off your opponent's graveyard. Okay, so looking into this, Book of Moon, Book of Eclipse against Kashtira. A Rise Heart is the card that you want to turn off. Turn off the biggest floodgate. If you're trying to block their combo, then you can, hit their Kashtira Unicorn. Again, Eclipse is still very good because you can turn off basically everything on their board. You can wait till standby phase, wait for them to drop, and then boom, everything is now turned off. They may counter with a Solemn Judgment. I'm just saying that right now. It is a perfectly fine card to expect. As for Purlily and Pearly Yeep, you just don't want them to go into their extra deck, so flipping the monster face down will prevent them from doing so. Dragon Link, if you can somehow block the middle zone, it really annoys them when they're trying to get the correct arrows and setup. Like, that does matter if you can land it. Sunseed Loci, if you can hit them on the normal summon, it would work. If it's not a normal summon, I don't know this matchup well enough, but I've seen people just lose their turn because they get booked, so take it with a grain of salt here. I think there is value in just turning it off and not letting them link off their material. Then for Vanadium, you can get rid of their tuner, so it gets a little rough, or get rid of their non-tuner if they have multiple tuners. Sprites still works against them. Especially when they just normal summon, just flip face down, and it's like, okay, you don't really get to play. Vanquish Soul, standby phase, turn off the monster so they don't get the name, so they can't tag the ones from their hand. Basically, you can turn off a board, or you can disrupt the board from being set up. That's why the book cards are so good. Sure, they're neg ones by default, but as long as you get the value. And for Eclipse, make sure you have the correct fault. Eclipse is more like a board breaker than anything. Triple attack, people are just playing so many hand traps that it's very easy to kind of force this into activation and bait them into giving you additional free cards as the best follow-up. If you're gonna get stuck under Droll, then you're gonna be ripping your opponent's hand so that they can't advance their game state that forward either. That's like one of the best counters to Droll and Lockbird. As for Feather Duster, against Rescue, Ace, and Labyrinth, of course you can kind of wipe them out. Unchained, you should probably use Evenly Matched for the Unchained matchup as much as you can, and then find a way to turn off the Unchained Soul of Disaster. Okay, as a Disaster, the blue one, you need to turn off the blue one. Cashier, you can use this as a board wipe, taking over the birth, and all that stuff. And even against Chimera or Branded, or just Branded, you can use it to take out the back or Chimera Fusion so that they can't go into Guardian Chimera to disrupt you, so they have value. Exorcister, you can still blow out their stuff. It's just removing follow-up, which is very, very key here. And before we continue, if you guys can do me a favor, check out MSTmerch.com. We have finally launched our rose pink sleeves. They're available in bundles of 1, 4, 10, and 20, and the sale is still on, so you can get real big savings on that. Now, this particular sleeve, very interesting, because unlike most color sleeves, which are a little bit more glossy, a little bit more smooth, this one has the feel of PC white. So we finally attached color into the PC white, so that's a possibility now. So it's really cool. I really like the feel of it. Nishi's thing is that there's nothing like this in the market. This is a new product on the market, so if you guys can check it out yourself, well, by all means, I really would appreciate it, especially for you guys who love pink sleeves and can't get access to it. Well, we got you covered. But if that's not what you're looking for, you're just looking for the black and white, we still have the Onyx Black, we still have the white V2s, and if you're looking for some of the foil sleeves, we have the Ulti Egos, the Ulti Instincts, all that's available. Oversleeves to protect your foil sleeves, and we have box dividers to sort your collection. Everything is still available. The site's a little bit of a mess. I know we're gonna get everything fixed up, but more or less, we're back in full gear, and we're gonna get everything shipped out to you guys. So thank you guys for the support, and let's continue with more tech choices, and some tech choices that you should probably try out for future events because they're not currently being played yet, but it counters the meta. So for more tech choices, a lot of people are playing triple copies of Fenrir regardless if it synergizes with the deck or not, because it is a great +1. It takes care of floodgates. There can be only one Gozen matches. They are floating. Rescue Aces have Gozen matches. The Vanquish Soul, there can be only one. It just makes short work of those things, and it also provides you with a face-up removal that's also a disruption, and the summon's more or less free. So people are just playing this like Pankratops. As for tribute base removal, you see Kaijus, you see Lava Golems. A Rise Hard Shangri Era, you can take those out. You can break the Exporelli Noir without having any issues. And you can also hit them with Vanquished Soul, you know, their soul monsters. You can get rid of their names, and you can also remove some Unchained Soul monsters though, so that they can't tag out. More or less, you're treating as a permanent imperm solution as a form of a kaiju. Yeah, it does require summon. And then there's also D Barrier. For Synchros, Sword Soul, Manadium, any deck that's playing the Synchrons, Exceeds, Pearly, Kashtira, Unchained. Why Unchained? Because they do have something that they can go into. They go into the DDDs, but it's not recommended. Sprite, of course, you can take out Gigantic Sprite, prevent that from being an issue. And then against Fusion, some of the best things, of course, Branded, Chimera, Tearlaments, these are all available, but these are some of the additional tech choices, and these are some of the most popular choices right now. And finally, some of the staying ahead choices, mainly to deal with Unchained. Unchained was very unchecked during YCS Brazil. Lots of people did not expect it, but now that people have solved that particular deck, so we're going to look at Silent Grave and Abyss Dweller. I think some of these decks, they have access to level 4s. They might start off their play with a Dweller, and especially if you have space in the extra deck where you make stuff like Baguska, you might be shifting over into Dweller, because being able to turn off their entire deck, they can't combo well if none of their stuff triggered in the graveyard. So this is really important. So aside from just hitting Unchained, it also hits Tearlaments, hits Rescue Ace, hits Salamangreat, because they need access from the graveyard to get the additional stuff, whether it be like the Spinny or the Jack Jaguar. Mathmech, they also have stuff in the deck to activate in the graveyard. Chimera Branded, whenever they fuse off as material, you might be able to land some of these cards, stopping the Gazelle, stopping the Big Wing Burfman from adding cards. Branded, also they have more cards in the graveyard they can also trigger. And Dragon Link, which is also pretty decent against them as well, especially when they're trying to trigger off the Black Dragon, White Dragon. There are things that it would work. Another card to use would be Solemn Judgment. I think many of their decks need to land their first summon, and they need to protect it as much as possible. This just cancels and just disrupts their tempo. If you have the correct follow-up and you can stop the perfect card, you can just destroy them mid-line, and it prevents you from losing to direct blowout cards. And Xyz Encore, you can disrupt the Pearly +5 material, take out the Kashtira Rise, some of the biggest matchups. Now this one seems a little bit more specific. It makes a lot of sense because you should be trying to cater your side deck for the most popular matchups that you're going to be suffering against, and especially against their biggest monster. So, you know, dedicating space to maybe 1 or 2 monsters that would be the most problematic still makes sense. You can also use it to take away your opponent's Zeus monster, which is cool. You can take away other Pearly monsters, and you can even, you know, take out Mathmech if they, you know, they can't negate this because it's not negatable. You can get rid of their negation available. So these are some of your options here, and these are some of the ones that I'm going to be personally trying myself. And that's all I got for this video, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, smash that thumbs up button for me. I did this in the morning. That's what the sun is super bright. I need to install a curtain because it's getting brighter and brighter as I darken my camera over and over again. Thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. Check out MST.TV. And I got to go to work now because, well, it's 9 o'clock in the morning now. So I'll see you guys in the next one.